The shir is Leila Nishmat. Leila Nishmat Shalimelech Ben Levi Yitzchak. Osher Ben Chaim Ben Ephraim Mitziona. Esther Basara. Osher Ben Yosef. Tzvi Ben Shraga. Tzvi Dov Ben Chaim Pesach. Yitzchak Ben Sarah. Devorah Bas Yitzchak. Yisachar Ben Shifra. Leah Bas Simcha. Avram Ben Mordechai. David. Ruven Ben Shmuel. Chana Ito Bas Moshe David, Chana Golda Bas Yisrael, Shua ben Shmuel, Chaim ben Fega, Yaakov ben Yitzchak, Mordechai Netzach ben Rivka, Shoshana bat Clara, Batya Esther bat Yamin, Zalman Lei ben Moshe Amichai ben Yaakov, Leila Nishmatam, and Leila Nishmat, Rachel bat Emunah, Leila Nishmatam, Esther Rochel bas Chaya, Leila Nishmatam. Today we're going to talk about the Haftorah. You take a look in the Birnbaum Chumash. The Haftorah is from the book of Shoftim. Now, the Ashkenazim begin earlier, and the Sfardim begin later in the Haftorah. The Sfardim don't want to read so much, because maybe the kugel is burning, and so the Sfardim begin later. We begin earlier in the Haftorah. There's an obvious connection between the Haftorah and the Parsha. This Parsha speaks about the great victory, right? Chanok, the victory over Egypt, God's miraculous intervention defeating Egypt, and the Parsha and the Haftorah 300 years later in the book of BeShalach. If you take a look at your the Birnbaum Chumash, Devorah Isha Neviah. Now in the Parsha, who's called the Neviah? Miriam. And here you have another great woman, Isha Neviah, Eshet Lapidot. What does that mean, Mickey? A fiery lady. Eshet Lapidot means a fiery lady. Now, in the Parsha,
They tell me that.
Eshet Lapidot, if you look inside, you'll see it. There's plenty of books here. Literally, it means the wife of Mr. Lapidus. But Eshet Lapidot also means a fiery woman. Now, in the Parsha, we have the ladies who caused the exodus from Egypt, the Noshim Tzidkoniot, not because of the men. And here, 300 years later, the great victory happened again over the Canaanites, this time also only because of what? The righteous women, the iron ladies of Jewish history. In the Parsha, it's Miriam and her colleagues, and here it's Devorah. Devorah Isha Neviah. She was a prophet lady, Eshet Lapidot, the wife of Mr. Lapidus. He had another name, his name was Barak. He Shaftat Yisrael, she was a judge, buddy, a lady judge.
Yeah.
A lady judge at that time. This was about 300 years after the exodus from Egypt.
Was her name Judy, Rabbi?
Her name was not Judge Judy, her name was Judge Devorah.
They didn't have the Shas party.
Judge Devorah, right? Now, she, Pasuk 5, you have that? He Yoshevet Tachat Toma Devorah. She didn't have an office, Mickey. She would sit under the date palm tree of Devorah. She didn't have an office. She judged people. She saw her clients under a date palm tree.
I love it.
Why is that? Why under a date palm tree? Chanoch. She couldn't afford the rent. Very expensive rent.
There's no Shiloh Yichud?
Beautiful. Malka, you're on the ball.
What?
The Talmud says the problem of yichud. She would have men come to her with shilas. Shelot, you can't be alone with a woman. Yiddish Aviva. So therefore she sat under Tachat Toma Devorah and a date palm tree. The leaves are very high. So there's no problem with yichud. They're not weeping willows. No hanky-panky. So there shouldn't be a problem with yichud. Therefore she judged. Ephraim, you have a book? Thank you. So she judged, imagine, a Neviah, like Miriam, and she was a Shofetet. So what happens in Pasuk 6? And this time the Jews were oppressed not by the Mitzrayim, they were oppressed by the Canaanites. So in Pasuk 6, she sent and summoned Barak. Who was Barak? Her husband. His name was Barak Lapidot. You know Mr. Barak Lapidus?
Yeah.
So the Radak wonders, their husband and wife, why they're living apart. Why are they living apart?
What's better?
Because what? This way they
What's
don't.
better?
This way they don't fight, right? Ephraim, they were married. Long distance relationship. This way you don't fight so much, right? Now, anyway, you take a look at Pasuk 7. What does she say? Pasuk 7. Mobilize. Pasuk 6. Go mobilize an army and fight the terrorists. And Pasuk 7. And I will draw towards you to the Kishon brook, Sisera, the general of Yabin's army, with his chariot and multitude. And I shall deliver him into your hand. You hear this? In the Parsha, God what? Hardens the heart of Pharaoh to pursue the Jews to the what? Yam Suf, to destroy him. 300 years later, this time who's his messenger? Not Moses and Miriam. Who's his messenger? Devorah. And this time, God will harden the heart of not Pharaoh, but of Arafat, to draw him to where? To the Kishon brook. You see the parallels between the Parsha? And I will deliver him into your hand, just like 300 years earlier, God delivered the Egyptians into the hands of...
It was a big mess, because it was, I think, in May. And he came with his chariot.
We're going to talk about it, Nikki. We're going to talk about it. Right.
They got caught in the
They
mud.
got stuck in the mud just like 300 years earlier by the Yam Suf. Here it was by the Kishon brook. You see how God works? Right? 300 years later, you have the same thing. But what does it mean for me today? We know that the Torah, Tanakh is not a history book. Tanakh is GPS. You know what GPS is? God's personal system. So what do we meet in Ephraim? What's the message? Okay? So she's speaking to her husband. Ephraim, they had a long distance marriage they had, looks like.
Yeah.
So what does he say to her?
He'll do it.
Not so easy. Verse 8. Verse 8. Barak says to her, if you go with me, I'll go.
Otherwise, I'm not
going. Honey, I can't do it without you.
That's what he
The
said.
Iron Ladies of Jewish history. Eshet Lapidot, the fiery woman. Chanoch, Eshet Lapidot. Wow, what a story here. Anyway, where are they? So, anyway, what happens? What happens, right? So in verse 9, she says, I'll go with you, but the path on which you have chosen to go will not be for your all glory, for Hashem will have delivered Sisera into the hands of what? A woman. Right? So the women, they wore the pants in those days. Chanoch. Buddy, the women wore the pants in those days.
Don't they still?
What?
It was a sneeze.
I said, don't
I don't
they
mean literally. The Nashim Tzidkoniot saved us in the Exodus, and the righteous women saved us again 300 years later. And today, the Zohar says the final Geula will only come because of what?
The women.
Not the chief rabbis, the righteous women. Now, so listen to this. So anyway, verse 10, Barak mustered an army of Zevulun and Naphtali, 10,000 IDF crack troops, and the Deborah went with him. Now, verse 11 seems to be from left field. Elisheva, verse 11. What's going on with verse 11? Cheber, the Canaanite, became separated from the Canaanites, and he pitched his tent as far as the plain of Zaninim, which is near Kadesh. Who needs to know this? I need to know that this guy, Cheber, moved away from his tribe, and he pitched his tent in a place called Kadesh. Who cares? Tanakh is not history. It's God's GPS. Fasten your seatbelts. Chever decides to move one day. He tells his wife, Yael, listen, I don't like the neighborhood. Let's move. It's too from, not from enough. Honey, let's move. You know where they moved to? Where did they move to? Where the battle's going to take place, where his wife Yael is going to give Arafat an Akseb and Hedrate number 19. Malka, listen to this. It's just incredible how God works. Where you live, when you move, you think you're making your own decision. It's all from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Heber wakes up one day and he tells Yael, Yael, listen, I don't like the neighborhood. Chanoch, it's not from enough. Let's move. Little did he know that God is making him move because soon the battle will take place and his wife is going to make Arafat a head shorter. So he has to be there. But he didn't know that's why he's moving. What's the message for us? Where we live. We don't know why we live there, but we have to be there. You have to be in Nachlaot, and I have to be in Pisgat Zev. Avi, you have to be in Pisgat Zev. We think we were there by Koinky Dinky Buddy, but no, you have to be in Nachlaot to be in charge of the Kol Rina Shul. Everybody has a tafkid. What a powerful message. It's not history. Ephraim, it's GPS. You have to be in Kiryat Moshe. That's the message over here, right? He had no idea why he's moving. God is in control. Wherever we live and when we move and we don't move, there's a plan. Here you see it plain as day. If he wasn't there,
Wouldn't have happened.
then Yael never could be the heroine to save the Jewish people. Stay tuned. Anyway, so the entire army is destroyed. Look at verse 13. The parallel. In the Parsha, 600 Egyptian chariots are destroyed. But Abraham, look at here, Pasuk 12. Pasuk 13, how many chariots are destroyed here? 900. In Mitzrayim, there were 600 chariots destroyed. Here, God destroyed what? 900 chariots. Okay? And in the Parsha, it also says, verse 16, there wasn't the left, only one. Who was the one left in the Parsha? Pharaoh. And here it says the same thing in verse 16. There was only left one. Who? Arafat. Sisera, alias Arafat. Verse 17. So he fled. His entire army was destroyed. Like in the Parsha, 300 years ago. This is 300 years later. Verse 17, and he flees on foot. And he thinks he's going to hide out in the tent of Yael. See verse 18? Yael went towards sister and said, here, turn my side, you come here, and I'll take care of you, okay? And I'll hide you. Verse 19, he said to her, Yehuda, what? Give me a little water to drink, I'm thirsty. So instead of water, she gave him what? Milk? Because Rashi says milk makes you sleepy, and covered him in order he should fall asleep. Right? Because she's going to make him a head shorter. But he don't know that yet. Verse 20, he set her stand at the door, and if anybody asked, did anybody hear?
Nope.
No. So what did she do? Verse 21, Yael, wife of Heber, now he was out to lunch. The husband was out to lunch. The husband's always the last to know. Hubby's the last to know, Chano. Right? Yael, the wife of Heber, took a tent peg and smashed his skull. While he was sleeping. We should do that to Abu Mamzer today. We need a Yael today, Chanoch.
Right.
We need a fiery woman of Barzel today. We need an Iron Lady today.
That's it.
Bibi, step aside. We need a Yael. Ephraim, that's what we need. Verse 22. Ephraim, you have it? So Barak was pursuing Sisera. Yael went to him and said, listen, come. I'll show you who you're looking for. So he took a look and he saw what? Arafat with his head smashed in. Very interesting, right?
It's the same
Very
story.
good.
Different story about the other one that tired him out doing something else? Is that a different story?
What?
The one that she tired him out doing something else?
No.
Same thing. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. Hang in there. Don't leave. Now, this is where Sephardim begin here. The Sephardim body, the kugel is burning, so they begin the Haftorah here. The kugel, Vatosha Devorah, Ubarak ben Avinoam. Devorah sang. Devorah and Barak sang. In the Parsha it says, Oz Yoshir Moshe. Moshe will sing. Chanoch, it says Moshe will sing. And here it says, Vatosha Devorah and Barak and Devorah sang in the past tense. Now in the Parsha, the men and women sing separately. Avi, Moshe sings with the men, and Miriam sings with what? with the women. There you learn out the halacha that men and women can't what? Sing together. Wasn't Devorah Orthodox? You don't have a book, Chanoch. It says Devorah and Barak sang together. Beautiful. Malka, you're 2 for 2. You can sing with hubby and wife together. So happy together. So in the Parsha, the men and the women were not married. So therefore, Moses had to sing with the men separately. And therefore, Miriam had to sing with the ladies separately. But Devorah and Barak were what?
Married.
Hubby and wife. No problem to sing with your Bible, hubby and wife, a duet. But Aviva, Devorah is mentioned before Barak. Because ladies first.
No. That's right.
God is a gentleman. Devorah uBarak. There's no coinky dinky. Everything in Tanakh of Abraham. Lama Devorah lifnei Barak. HaTorah zeh gentleman b'ivrit. Ladies first. So she's mentioned first. Devorah and Barak sing on the day of victory. Unlike in the Parsha, all the Jewish people sing. Over here, the IDF after the victory went out to lunch, and who was left singing and praising God? The husband and wife team, but she gets top billing, Ephraim. Ladies first. Tanakh is not a history, it's GPS. Now, so the Parsha begins, Devorah was a shofetet, right, Yehuda? You read on, Pasuk 6. B'mei Shamgar, ben Anat, b'mei Yael. Verse 6. Who was Shamgar? Shamgar was the judge before Devorah. Rashi says, why is Yael mentioned in the same Pasuk with Shamgar in Pasuk 6? Rashi says, now he had only daughters. Rashi says, you hear this? Chanoch, just like Shamgar was a judge, Yael was also a judge.
Wow.
The guy, the lady, who what? Killed Arafat, she was also a judge.
Wow.
So it's not just Devorah. The people don't know that. Rashi says in Pasuk 6, why does Devorah mention Shamgar in the same verse of Yael? That just like Shamgar was a shofet, Yael was also what? A shofetet. So in ancient Israel, Shas wouldn't like it, but in ancient Israel, you had women leaders, shofetet, not just Devorah, but also what? Yael. Rashi says that. That's why she's mentioned in the same verse with Shamgar, who's also a judge. Anyway, people were afraid to travel on the light rail. My wife doesn't want to take the train. She's afraid. So 3,000 years ago, you had terrorist attacks.
Yep.
People were afraid to go on the roads. You see that?
What's the connection between Devorah and Yael? Was their sister?
They were both judges. That's Rashi's point.
But they're
That
related
she
in
was a
some way?
colleague.
Yeah.
They're related in some way?
Not related. They were both shofetet. And Shamgar, you look in, was the judge before Devorah. And Yael was a judge during Devorah's time.
There you go.
That's why she's mentioned in the same verse with Shamgar, so says Rashi. But anyway, what happened at that time, Elisheva? People were afraid to take the buses. They were afraid to travel downtown because they were being terrorized because of the terror.
Imagine that.
Right? Nothing has changed in 3,000 years, yes?
Why does it say she's Devorah, mother of Israel?
What? She was a convert. She was a convert from Yisro. Yisro converted, right, Ephraim? Yisro converted with his children. She came from that tribe of Yisro, the Ger Tzedek. So it's incredible that she became a shofetet. That's just incredible. Chanoch, are you with me on this?
Why does it mention Devorah as a mother in Israel?
She called herself a mother in Israel. Mother means I'm a leader of Israel. She's a mother in Israel. She was the mother of the Jewish people. Right? She was the Iron Lady.
There's also no coincidence that a mother was just killed 2 days ago. Is that
No coincidence. Right? So anyway, she's singing the song, praising those Jewish people that helped in the war and those Jewish people that what? That sat on the fence. Now stay tuned for this, current events. Anyway, people stopped traveling on the highways. They were afraid of terror attacks. Right? So God made this great victory. Right? Look at Pasuk 9. Yehuda, Pasuk 9, my heart is with the lawgivers of Israel who are devoted to the people, saying, bless Hashem.
Yeah.
Right? So she's singing a song here, and now she's going to what? Praise those Jews that helped, and those Jews that what? Sat on the fence. But before that, look at verse 20. Verse 20, Min ha-shamayim nilchamu at koichavim. What does that mean? Verse 20, Lesheva. From heaven they fought. The very stars from their orbits did battle with Sisera. So Rashi and Radak say that what? This means God sent malachim, heavenly messengers. Now each star, when you're looking at a star, starry, starry night. When you're looking at a star, says Rambam, what are you looking at? You're looking at the body of an angel. When you go out at night, Chanoch, and you see starry, starry night, says Rambam, you're looking at the body of an angel. You hear this? And the Rambam explains that just like we are not our bodysuit, we are a neshama, we have a tafkid to do, so our tafkid in this world can only be done if we're wearing a vehicle. What's the vehicle? The bodysuit. So malachim also have a tafkid. And to accomplish their mission in this world, they also wear a bodysuit. Their bodysuit is called what? Starry, starry night. So you're looking at a starry night, says Rambam, Yesod Haftorah, and a Barbanel, you're looking at, bodies of angels. Angels also have a mission to accomplish. And they also need a physical vessel. So our physical vessel to maneuver and accomplish is called the body. And there is called the planet, is the stars. So in verse 20, important to look in Chanoch, from the stars fought for us, says Radak, it means the malachim. God sent heavenly angels from Shemayim, disguised as stars, and they also fought with what? Against Sisera. Okay? Now, so she's praising those tribes that helped Am Yisrael. And she's condemning those tribes that didn't. Look at verse 16. She's condemning Shevet Ruvain. How come you're sitting on the fence? Why didn't you join the IDF to fight the enemy? You hear? She's praising Yisachar and Zevulun, and she's rebuking Shevet Ruvain. They were out to lunch. Now look at verse 21. Verse 21. Kishon Brook swept them away. You have that, Yehuda? Just like 300 years ago, the Red Sea swept away what? The Egyptians. 300 years later, Chanoch, the Kishon Brook swept away what? Sisera's army. It was a bigger victory because in the past there was only 600 chariots of Pharaoh. Here it's how many? 900. You see the parallel between the Parsha and what? And the Haftorah. Right?
Yes.
So anyway, let's move on over here. Now, verse 23 is very strange. Please look inside, Doctor. Can you look in maybe with Evelyn? Verse 23 says, curse is morose, said the angel. You have that? How do they translate that? You want to read that?
It says the angel of the Lord.
Start from the beginning again, verse 23.
Curse morose.
Curse morose.
Says the angel of the Lord, curse bitterly its inhabitants, because they came not to help of the Lord, to the help of the Lord among the heroes. The
Lord needs help? Cursed in this place called morose, cursed inhabitants, they didn't come to help Hashem. Yehuda, it's written twice, Ezrat Hashem, Ezrat Hashem. Shoshana, God needs help? Says Rashi, anyone that helps Israel, helps God. Chanoch, are you with me on this? It says Ezrat Hashem twice. There's no repetition in the Tanakh. Abraham, you see that? Oru meroz, Omer Malach Hashem, Oru Yoshveha, Ki loibo le'ezrat Hashem bagiborim. Rashi says, what do you mean God needs help? Ata tzorich Ezra? Does God need help, Ephraim?
No, but he likes
Says Rashi, anyone that helps Am Yisrael is like helping God. So the next time you help a Yidl with anything, you're helping the boss. Shoshana, it's amazing. It's a twofer.
That's good.
It's a twofer. That's why the Balatanya says, every time you do an act of chesed to a Yidl, you're loving God. Every time you smile on a Yidel, it doesn't cost money to smile. Every time you smile on a Yidel, you're loving God. Who said that? The Balatanya, not me. Evelyn, you know that, right? You do a chesed for a Jew, you're loving God.
Wow.
It says they didn't come to help God. God doesn't need help. If you help a Jew, you're considered helping God. Hanoch.
Yeah.
Now, who are these people of Meroz? Fasten your seatbelts, otherwise you'll fall off your chair, Ephraim. Says the Zohar, Meroz is the planet Mars.
Wow.
Are you serious?
Remember my favorite Martian? Fasten, I told you to fasten your seatbelts,
Wow.
Aviva. Are you fastened, Aviva? Or Meroz. Cursed are inhabitants because they didn't come to help God by Giborim. Says the Zohar, there was life on the planet Mars, a very advanced civilization.
Wow.
And they could have come to help Israel against Arafat's terrorists with ray guns or whatever. They didn't come. They didn't come. I put a spell on you.
They disappeared.
The Zohar says that Devorah cursed them out of, beware of the fury of a woman. She cursed them out of existence. Now, you could look it up in Google. All scientists say there was life on Mars. There was water on Mars. Where there's water, there's life. Mysteriously, the water evaporated and life disappeared. The scientists don't know why. But they all admit there was life on Mars. There was water there. But what happened? What happened? We know what happened, Mickey. Devorah cursed them out of existence.
Good.
The reason God gave them existence is to help Am Yisrael. Whatever happens in the world, it's all b'shvili nivra olam. Right? The Mishnah Sanhedrin says, every Jew b'shvili, it's all about us. That's why we're so hated, Chanoch. The UN knows it's all about us. It's all about us. So the Martians, they didn't help us, and therefore Devorah cursed them out of existence. Or Meroz, you see the word Mars.
Yeah.
The word Mars, it's right there. How did the English translate that?
Morose.
Meroz, Mars, right?
Right.
I put a spell on you. Scientists don't know what happened to the water. What happened to life? They're puzzled. Let them look at Judges, chapter what? Which chapter is this? The book of Judges, right?
Right.
Chapter what?
4.
Chapter 5. Chapter 5, verse 23. And they'll know why my favorite Martian got extinct. It's all in the Torah. They didn't come to help God. They had the capability to help us fight terror. You don't help the Jews fight terror, who needs you? It's all about us, Ephraim. The UN knows that. That's why we're so hated. It is all about us. Yes, Shoshan?
Rabbi Sprecher,
Yes.
how were we aware of this then?
Of this what?
Of this phenomenon, that there was life on Mars?
The Zohar says, it's not me, on this verse.
Does the Zohar talk about life on any other planet?
I don't, it talks about Mars. It talks about life on other planets as well, but for our discussion, it's about Mars, based on this puzzle, that there was life there, and they were cursed out of existence by none other than whom? Devorah. Don't rile up a Jewish woman. I'll put a spell on you. Well, it's just incredible. Anyway, look at this. Verse 25. Verse 24. Blessed by woman is Yael, wife of Heber. More blessed than women of the tent. Says the Gemara in Nazir, who are the women of the tent? Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. Devorah puts Yael in the same category. Chanoch. Tevorach Menashim Yael. Eshes Heber Akeni. Menashim Boil. She's as blessed as women of the tent. Gemara Nazir says the women of the tent are what? The matriarchs of Israel. And this Yael is in her category. A righteous convert to Judaism, became a judge of Israel, and she knocked off Arafat. But before that, she had to do something very, very questionable. Before that, look at verse 27. verse 27. Anybody want to read it? Elisheva, verse 27.
Most blessed woman may Yael be.
Right, after that.
The wife of Gur.
Yeah, after that. Verse 27. Go ahead.
I'm getting there. Water, he asked. Milk she gave.
Right.
In a lordly bowl.
She made him sleepy. But verse 27, continue.
She put her hand to the tent peg, her right hand to the workman's hammer, and she struck.
She smashed
down.
Arafat's skull. Where do we get women like that today? Go ahead.
Plenty around.
But there's a problem. Look at verse 27. Go ahead.
He fell where he sank, where he fell slain.
Look at the jails.
No, it doesn't say that in the Hebrew. You see, they're being politically correct. If you look at the Hebrew, it's shocking. It's shocking, Ephraim. Bein ragleho kora. Between her legs, he knelt. Nofal, he fell. Shachav. The word shachav means to be intimate sexually.
No.
Hanoch, are you sitting down for this?
Was this before she killed him?
Ben ragleho kora. Between her legs, he knelt. Who's he? Arafat. Nofal, he fell. Shachav. Shachav is a sexual term. He slept, bein ragleo, he slept with her between her legs. He was intimate with her between her legs. Kora, nofal, again, more than once. More than once, she seduced him more than once in order to tucker him out, to give him an Excedrin headache number 19.
There was no headache.
And then she smashed his skull. Ephraim, what a way to go.
Wow.
Are you with me on this, Evelyn? How does the English translate that? Evelyn.
It doesn't.
Verse 27. Maybe the blue book does. Verse 27. Are they completely... Verse 27, Evelyn. Shh. 27, no? English.
At her feet he sank, he fell. Where he sank, there he fell slain.
Right, but that's cover up.
That's it.
Doesn't, what does the article say?
He toppled lay between her legs. He knelt and fell where he knelt.
He lay between her legs. So they say it correctly. He lay between her legs. So there's no cover-ups of Abraham. It's Pele Ployim. This book covers it up, but there's no cover-ups in the Art Stone Chumash. Shochav bein ragleho. Shochav is a sexual term. Shochav, between her legs. He had sex with her more than once, and therefore it's repeated. So the Talmud in Nazir says that she had to do this
Knock him out.
in order to knock him out, otherwise she wouldn't be able to smash his skull. So the problem is, Malka, can a woman commit adultery l'shem shemayim? But that's what she did. What?
Was she the shofet yet?
She was the shofeta. Can you imagine the headlines in the Jewish press? Can you imagine the headlines in the Jewish press?
She was able to give socks.
Chief judge of Israel seduces Arafat and then kills him. Avram.
She had a twofer, Rabbi. She was able to give sock, and on the moment she laid
Now
down.
the Talmud in Nazir and the Sanhedrin says, how could she do this? You're not allowed the 3 sins that you have to die for rather than commit. You can transgress the whole Torah to save a Jewish life except 3. And one of them is adultery. So how could this great lady, a shofetet, Ephraim, are you with me? How could she seduce Arafat in order to kill him to save Am Yisrael? Where you're allowed to transgress the whole Torah to save a Jew, not allowed. You have to accept 3 cardinal sins, and one of them is what? Adultery. One of them is adultery. So how could she get away with this?
Satan Israel.
What?
He's a goy.
So
And
she
with a
didn't do
goy,
it.
it's not the same as with
Khalila, it's still adultery with a guy. Khalila, it's still adultery.
not.
It's 100. Shoshana, it's adultery. Please, Shoshana. It's the same adultery with a goy or with a yid. It doesn't matter.
So she didn't do it.
She did it. What if she didn't do it? Shochav bein ragleo. Hello. And the Talmud and Nazir and Sanhedrin said that she seduced him more than once in order to tucker him out to kill him. Very problematic, Avi, because you cannot commit one of the 3 cardinal sins to save anybody. Yehoreg vayavor, allowed to be killed. And so how could she do this? How could she do this? Huh?
She
Now,
died al Kiddush Hashem.
but she didn't die. She
But
lived.
She was on a mission.
is
It's
cut
a
off.
mission from God.
Was she cut off from?
Now, the bottom line is 1 minute. She could never be intimate with her husband again. So a tragedy happened that Heber had to divorce her, even though she saved the Jewish people by giving herself to this terrorist. To play my song. The bottom line is, Malka, that Heber had to divorce her. But that doesn't justify her conduct, Chanoch. The Talmud is puzzled and shocked. How could this great shofetet do such an act? Okay, she saved Klal Yisrael. She did. Because this guy, if he would escape, he'd go back and organize new terrorists to terrorize Israel. But that doesn't justify adultery.
No, but it was like Queen Esther.
The same problem. That's the same exact problem what Esther did. Esther was married to Mordechai and she seduced the king, seduced to save the Jewish people. But Yael did it centuries before. So how could they get away? Don't try this at home. So the Talmud makes a strange statement. Gadola Aveira Lishma. This was called an Aveira Lishma. Rabbi Avraham, what does that mean? Gadola Aveira Lishma, Mimitzah Shalom Lishma. This was an Aveira Lishma. Now what does that mean? Gedora Lishma. She did it totally to save the Jewish people. Now, it doesn't justify what she did. Don't try this at home, lo yaleinu, chas v'sholem. But, she felt, she paskin, she was a shofetet. Chanoch. Now, she'd go to a rabbi, the rabbi would say, Chalila, you can't do this to save the Jewish people. But she paskin on the spot. She was, don't try this at home. This is not the halacha. But she did it. She felt that she has no choice. Because if she doesn't tucker him out, he's going to go back to Gaza and organize new terrorists to terrorize the Jewish people. But so much so that in verse 24, even though she did this, go back to verse 24, Elisheva. What does verse 24 say, Yehuda? Blessed by women is Yael.
Yeah.
By women in the tent she'll be blessed.
Yeah.
She's praised for doing this, even though she did not do halachically correct. But this is called hara'at sha'ah. How do you say that in English, Chanoch? Hara'at sha'ah. An emergency ruling for the hour, and she's considered a heroine of the Jewish people. But the tragedy was that her husband could no longer be with her. Her husband had to Had to divorce her, and the Talmud calls this an aveira lishma. An aveira lishma, an aveira for her sake. Who's her? The Shekhinah. She felt that she had no choice. If he would get away, he would bring back new terrorists from Gaza or from Ramallah. But this is not the halacha. But she felt hara'at sha'ah. Yehuda. She was a shofetet, so she paskin for herself, but no one else, lo yaleinu, shouldn't be in such a matzav. And centuries later, who relied on that ruling?
Yes.
Esther. Centuries later, Abraham. Centuries later, Esther did the same thing. She was married to Mordechai, and she seduced what? The king of Persia, Ayatollah, the king of Persia, to save the Jewish people. So Ephraim, Esther Hamalka relied on this psak, and centuries later she did the same thing, and she also saved the Jewish people. So the Jewish people were saved, Chanoch, by women who acted out of the box. Think out of the box. You have to have an iron will to be able to seduce Arafat, how distasteful, and then to smash his skull. These are the iron ladies of what? Of Jewish history.
Wow.
The iron ladies of Jewish history. If it wasn't for you ladies, the Jewish people would have been long gone. Right?
No. We're still here.
They were
Because
not
of you ladies,
That's right.
Jewish ladies, they're very assertive. They can take the bull by the horn and even go against, I don't want to say halacha, but that's what she did. What? Hara'at sha'ah. Whatever. Hara'at sha'ah.
So if she hadn't been a judge, she wouldn't have been able to make
If she wouldn't make this decision on her own, she was a shofetet. Therefore, the Navi points out that she's a shofetet, because otherwise she wouldn't be able to rule like that. Right? And therefore she's mentioned...
Pinchas wasn't the judge.
Right?
He made the same decision.
What?
To overrule what the
No, why? That it is the halacha. If you have relations with a non-Jewish person, a zealots can strike you dead. That is the halacha.
He wasn't a judge.
It doesn't matter, but that's the halacha, right? But here she went against halacha. But she was a shofetet Ephraim. We go back to Pasuk 6. Go back to Pasuk 6 Ephraim. In the days of Shamgar and the days of Yael. So Rashi says, since Yael is mentioned in the same verse with Shamgar, we know that Shamgar was a shofet. It must be, says Rashi, that Yael was also what? A shofetet. And she made this difficult, tragic decision to ruin her marriage and to save the Jewish people. To save the Jewish people. But anyway, what do we see from this Haftorah for current events, Mickey? What? What? God only helps those that help themselves. Right? God only helps those that help themselves.
We'll be afraid to go on the road.
It's just amazing, right?
Take care of ourselves.
Right?
Yeah.
As Rabbi Kahana predicted 30 years ago.
God only helps those that help themselves. If Barak would not have organized an army to fight the terrorists, Chanoch, nothing would have happened. And this ties into the end of the parsha. At the end of the parsha in BeShalach, Amalek terrorizes the Jewish people. And what does Moses say to Yeshua? Pray to God. What does Moses say? Moshe says what? Organize an army and go out to fight the terrorists. And God only helps those that help themselves. So you have ties with the parsha. In the parsha, Moshe sends Yoshua ben Nun to what? To fight. And in the Haftorah, Devorah sends her husband to fight. Because God only helps those, Chanoch, who help themselves. So the question Eben Ezra asks, Chanoch, in the beginning of the parsha, Hashem yelochem lachem v'atem tachrishun. The beginning of the parsha, the Jews were 600,000 with armed. They left Egypt armed. So if they fought Amalek at the end of the parsha, why did God tell them, God will fight for you and you didn't remain quiet? At the end of the parsha, Amalek, the end of the parsha, God says, you have to fight Amalek. L'chon, Avraham, Lama. The Safa parsha, God says, you have to do the fighting. Otherwise, they won't help you. So, Madua Valam, at the beginning of the Parsha, when you had 600,000 Israelites who left Egypt armed with weapons, how come God said, I'll fight for you, you remain quiet? Why, in the beginning of the Parsha, against the Mitzrayim, God did the fighting? In the end of the Parsha, Amalek, we had to do the fighting. Eben Ezra asked that question. So the Eben Ezra answers, I think it's called the Stockholm Syndrome, or the Patty Hearst Syndrome. The Eben Ezra 1,000 years ago said, the Jewish people were held captive for 210 years in Mitzrayim. They had this slave mentality where psychologically they couldn't lift up arms against their former captors. They were psychologically not capable. Says Eben Ezra. They had this Patty Hearst syndrome. Remember Patty Hearst?
Yeah.
Eben Ezra 1,000 years ago. So therefore God says, against Egypt you can't fight. You psychologically have a mental block against your former captors. So therefore I have to do the fighting. But we were never held captive by Amalek. At the end of the parsha, God says, you want me to help you? You have to fight the terrorists. Amalek, you don't have a Stockholm Syndrome against Amalek. You were never held captive by Amalek. Therefore what, buddy?
You can do it.
You want me to help you, says God? You have to do the fighting. It's not enough just to daven. It's incredible. It's just incredible in the parsha. Mickey, the Parsha of the week always speaks to what? Current events in the Parsha. That's right, he prepared for war. In the Parsha, please go back to Exodus 14. You have it in your book. Exodus 14, verse 15. Exodus 14, verse 15.
Page 107.
Page 107. Anybody want to read that? No one will answer at once.
I'll read it. And the Lord said to Moses, "Why do you cry to me? Tell the Israelites to go forward."
Why are you crying to me? Says Rashi, Moshe omed u'mitpalel. Ephraim, you have the Rashi? Moshe omed u'mitpalel. Amalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lo eit achshav laharech b'tfilah. She-Yisrael b'tzara. Avram, puzzling Rashi. Moshe omed, what does he do when you didn't have a tzara? What are you supposed to do? David, Moshe omed u'mitpalel. Amalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, lo eit achshav laharech b'tfilah. Now is not the time to what? Daven long. She-Yisrael b'tzara. What are you supposed to do? Act. Move. Chanoch. If only our Bibi would read the Parsha. Untie the hands of the IDF. It's not enough to daven. God says no. Lo eit achshav laharech b'tfilah. Now you're not supposed to daven too much. Yes, daven, but also when the yidna b'tzara, what are you supposed to do? Take off the gloves. Bibi, learn Rashi. People think, Shoshana, that the Torah is a history book. Chas v'shalom. The Parsha of the week, doctor, always speaks to what? Current events. The Torah is GPS. What's GPS, Abraham? God's personal system. Amazing Rashi. God said when the Yidna Natzara, it's not enough to daven. You've got to take off the gloves. Hello? That's what Bennett is saying. Bennett is saying, why don't you take off the gloves? Evelyn.
It's only about 2 blocks away. We can walk right up the street.
What? To Bibi?
2 blocks,
2 blocks away. Show him this Rashi, Ephraim. Can we fax this Rashi to Bibi? No?
Doesn't mean we'll take it in.
Shoshana, it's incredible how the Parsha and the Haftorah always speak to what? How do you say actuali? Actuali.
That's it, actually.
Actuali. Incredible Rashi.
It's not realistic.
Actuali means current events.
He does listen to what you say.
Well, he does listen to me.
Just keep sending.
Just keep sending. Maybe you can send
How
it.
do you know
What?
he listens every
What?
Because I get responses or I hear it in his speeches.
We need Bennett to be prime minister.
I email him all the time.
We need Bennett.
And
What do we need? What? Right? Untie the hands of the IDF. Malka, you're sitting down. I read this in Haaretz. Now Haaretz is a leftist paper. I was shocked that they printed this. Haaretz, I should have saved it, Mickey, a few weeks ago. Haaretz! They interviewed a senior IDF officer who likes American football. He said, listen to what he said, I'll quote. He said, we're playing defense on the 1 yard line.
Offense.
We're playing defense on the 1 yard line, he said.
He's right.
You hear what he said?
Yeah, instead of offense.
Now, I would understand if the Jerusalem Post would print that, but Haaretz would print that?
Instead of offense.
The government is tying our hand. A senior IDF officer, and he gave the analogy of American football. We're playing defense on the 1 yard line. 99 yards to go.
Oh.
Chanoch.
The point is, if
The Haaretz would print
if
this.
you're on the 1 yard line, you're about to be lost. If they push you back any further,
There's nowhere to
you got
go.
No place to go.
So we're playing defense on the
Super
1
Bowl's
yard
coming up
line.
in a couple of weeks. That's exactly.
Isn't that incredible, Shoshana? That even Haaretz is shocked. They want Bougie. He can't be worse than Bibi.
Bougie said
What?
today. He said today the 2-state solution doesn't work. He said.
Oh, Baruch Hashem,
Bougie
saw the
said
light.
that
What he said.
Today he said today's paper the 2-state solution doesn't
His
work.
grandfather was the chief rabbi of Israel. His grandfather, the big tzaddik, Asaba Shalom, or Rabbi Roshi. He's doing tshuva, Evelyn.
Yair Lapid too.
They're all doing tshuva, yeah? It's amazing. God's game plan is to get the Yidden to come back to Him. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. We have no one to turn to. Not the abomination, not John Balkari, not Hillary. God is orchestrating events, Doctor.
That's right.
That we have no one to turn but to Him.
The U.S. ambassador is against this.
Right? It's amazing. Parsha, the current events. Current events.
That's right.
The Jews were trapped at the Red Sea.
That's right.
They had nowhere to go. Vayitzak el Hashem. That's what Hashem wants. This is His game plan. One second.
The great warrior Sharon
Yeah.
didn't do anything till he massacred at that Netanya hotel.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not bad enough for our leaders to do anything. It's
Vayitzak,
terrible.
on all of the tzorot, is Vayitzaku b'nei Yisrael el Hashem. Shoshana. Vayitzaku, whenever we're in a tight spot, Vayitzaku b'nei Yisrael el Hashem. That's what Hashem wants.
What she said is right. The war is moved to Tel Aviv. And now that it's in Tel Aviv...
Even the leftists have to wake up.
Not even. They will...
The leftists, they're going to wake up, do tshuva.
That's good.
See how God works in mysterious ways, Ephraim? The Tel Avivians thought that they're safe. Not the settlers. Now they see we're all settlers.
Rabbi, they didn't think they were safe. They don't wake up.
Until it hits home. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu never has to turn the screws in order we should wake up to see the light. And God only helps those who help themselves. Shem Yazor, we have a good cheer on Sunday at 2 o'clock. I hope you come. It's called, Did the Torah Warn Us About Arab Terror? This Sunday at 2 o'clock, Doctor. Did the Torah warn us specifically about Arab terror and the solution? Sunday at 2. Be here or be square. Thank you. Good Shabbos.